What's up guys, Marty here, and I am. So today I'm going to be talking to you about knives. Now I love knives. I have way more knives than this, and it's probably one of my favorite pieces of gear to just, have fun with. But today I'm going to be talking to you guys about the knives that I carry with me when I'm out on trail. So going from biggest to smallest, this is a Bowie knife that I made in high school actually. Made the knife itself and the sheath. Wasn't for class or anything, it was just a fun project. It's made out of 5160, but pretty much grinded it out, didn't forge it or anything like that, don't have a forge. Handle is just paracord, which is, tried and true, gives you a good grip, and there's a fire starter kit in here as well. But this is a big mamma jamma and unfortunately doesn't get used as much as it used to. But this weighs like 2.5 pounds, including the sheath. As you can see, pretty long from almost fingertip to elbow. This is really good at chopping wood, and felling trees and cutting up dead stuff, because you always want to make sure you're cutting up dead stuff. But when we did that Appalachian trip a bunch of years ago, brought this with, and honestly this outperformed a lot of those little axes that other guys brought. Once you get it swinging, it pretty much chops through anything. It's not crazy sharp, but with a knife this big you don't want it to be, because it'll make the edge more durable, less likely to chip, and if you were to have an accident, hopefully it'll do some less damage and there won't be uncontrollable bleeding. But yeah, cutting down trees, chopping up logs, really awesome at that. It's also really good at batoning, which is when you take the knife, put it over your piece of firewood, take another stick and start hitting the top and chopping it down. Really awesome at that, just burns through it. Can also be used as a hammer, so I've used the side of the blade to hammer in stakes. Next up, we got a K-bar. So this is actually a military fighting knife. However, the way I use it is very similar to this. It's just a smaller package and can allow you to do more fine work. So this weighs just over 14 ounces, costs 75 bucks. This is the leather version. They make a like a rubber handled version as well. But I had this since high school. Again, you can still chop up stuff. It's just got to be a lot smaller, and you can still baton with it as well, which I have done. The blade is also sharper, so it'll allow you to do more fine work. So I've made feather sticks with this, get a pile of shavings and get a fire going that way. Haven't really done that as much as of late, been more on the lightweight kick, so these don't really apply to that. It is a full tang, and if you're gonna have a fixed blade knife with you, I wouldn't have just a regular folding knife normally. If you can't intend to carry a knife on trail, I think fixed blade is where it's at, and especially with a full tang, so there's no real major breaking points. Got hand guards on here to protect your fingers, and you can get your thumb up here so you can really focus in and do real fine work with it. But yeah, K-bar, again, I've had this knife for forever. It's definitely a fun knife to play with. Just got to be more careful with it. It is sharper. This one comes with serrations, and serrations are a mixed bag when it comes to people. I really like serrations. All my knives have them. It's really good at cutting rope. You just put the rope on that teeth, pull, and it'll slice right through. And sometimes if you put rope on here, it might take a couple of tries just because it slips over. Having those teeth, in my opinion, are better and just make things easier. Next up, we got the CRKT Minimalist. So this is actually a neck knife. Comes with a Kydex sheet and lanyard, so you can hang it around your neck. Which is usually how I carry it when I do have it with me, using it as it's intended. But it has these pretty deep finger grooves, and the blade comes down pretty far, and that's all just to protect your fingers. As you can see, it only has 3 finger grooves, but then there's this lanyard on the back, and that's what your pinky wraps around when you're holding on to the knife. It's got some teeth up here for your thumb, so your thumb doesn't slide around all over the place. Really awesome little neck knife. Weighs about 2 ounces. Costs about 25 bucks. But you can actually get different blades shapes for it. So I think you can get like 7 different blade shapes. This is the Bowie knife. Again, I'm just a really big fan of that design because you get a long sweeping edge on it. But you can get it as a karambit, a tanto, clip point, drop point, you name it. But if that's something that you're interested in, just go ahead and look on Amazon. I'm pretty sure they got all of them. But 25 bucks. Getting your thumb up here allows you to do real nice fine work. So you're not going to be doing a whole lot of chopping or batoning for firewood, but you can make a pretty good fire stick with this. And, just getting all those shavings down in the end. But yeah, good little knife. This one is definitely sharper than these two, so you got to be more careful with it. Definitely don't want to nick a finger, arm, or top of your leg if you're doing something that's in your lap. You can use it for self-defense if you want to. I know Dixie is a big fan of carrying a neck knife, as self-protection. Me being a bigger dude and just the things that I've done in my past, I'm not too worried about defending myself. But if needed to, this would be readily available, hanging around your neck. This isn't going to protect you from a bear or anything, so at that point you'd probably just make the bear angry. But something's better than nothing, because if a bear's coming after you that strong, there's no stopping them. Next up, we got a Leatherman squirt. So this is technically a multi-tool, and I just made a video about this, so if you're interested, you go ahead and check that out. But it does come with this little knife on here, which for the most part is plenty for me. It'll do most of the same stuff that this will, just not as good. You can still make a feather stick or a shavings pile, if you want to get a fire started. But one thing that I use this for that none of these would really apply is first aid. So, making little incisions on myself to take slivers out, which is what this mostly gets used for. Cutting thread or webbing, little sections of rope. It's a cute little blade. Again, I don't keep this razor sharp just because I don't want to accidentally hurt myself, especially with it being this small, and it's non-locking, so it just kind of moves however it sees fit. But usually if you're going away from yourself, you're pretty safe, and plus that's the direction that it'll stay open. Yeah, so this mostly gets used for opening packages, cutting thread, webbing rope, and again, getting splinters. If I needed to, I'm sure I could get blisters with this, but I don't get blisters all that often. Knocking on wood there. Last up, we got the Dermasafe folding razor knife. So I've actually never had to use this, and I intend to keep it that way. But I pretty much just carry this because it's part of my first aid kit. So this is literally just a folding razor knife, and it is razor sharp. So I guess if you really wanted to, you could shave with this if you were out on trail. But pretty much I just keep it as the same thing as this. And this weighs like 1/8 of an ounce. So, in my opinion, doesn't hardly weigh anything. It's really more of just a backup in case I lose this. But if I wanted to cut up some webbing, some thread, all that kind of stuff, this is razor sharp. Weighs 1/8 of an ounce, and I think you can pick one up for like $2.50, or they sell 3 packs, and you can usually find those for like $7. But there's no locking, nothing like that. Especially with this being literally a razor blade, it's very thin, so it's prone to breakage, all that kind of stuff. It's just really good at being really sharp. These are all the knives that I would carry with me when I'm out on trail. Again, I have a lot more knives, and I mean a lot. Absolutely just love knives and everything about them. But those are some of the uses that I use these knives for. And the beautiful thing about a knife is you're only limited to your imagination and what it could be used for. When I don't want to carry this, I then have this. When I don't want to carry of these, I have this. You know, these two on the end I consider to be part of, you know, my safety kit or first aid kit. So really it's just, you know, what you can think of and how you can apply it to yourself. These are just my favorite knives to carry with me when I'm on trail. If you liked what you saw, give me a thumbs up. If you have any questions, leave them down in the comments. But thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.